Sorry, guys. Boo. And I'm trying to figure it out. Check. Check. There we go. All right. We should have sound now. Sorry about that. I had to tear down my studio yesterday. And so I played a show yesterday and I had to tear down my studio. And every time I tear down my studio, I got to reconnect everything and hope that everything is connected correctly. So sorry. There's going to be glitches. But how y'all doing? How y'all doing? Good to see you. I'm sorry. I also had some weird I'm sorry about the time issues. Yeah. Well, I won't go into it. I just had a lot of issues starting the show today, and I started early. I know I started early. I also said the hoodie is very comfy. Yes, it is. It's cold, and this is warm. I said this week is going to be pretty chaotic, and it will be chaotic. So that's why I'm starting a little early today. But I just want to, just reiterate this week, if I drop out for a couple days or the whole week, or if I'm intermittent, then that's how it's going to be. I apologize. Apologize in advance. You probably, things will be very abnormal this week, but after this week, I'll be back to normal. You have issues. Are you still having sound issues? Still have sound issues? Can you hear me? Is everything okay? Anyways. Well, okay, let's, or are you just saying you have issues too? Are you just relating to me, Poppy? If you're just relating to me, that's cool. Thank you. Issues. They're everywhere. Okay. Got a couple of things I want to talk about today. Just a couple of things I want to talk about. And this is ridiculous. Sound is good. Okay, cool. I saw this article today and I was like, oh, just, we're kind of covering news here, but we're also kind of just pointing out, yes, Denver Attaway, do an upvote and go to Rockfin. That's good advice. We're also live on Callin. We are live on Callin. What was I going to say? We're also pointing out the many ways that humans are going to destroy themselves in the process of trying to reach nirvana or whatever we're trying to do. Yes, everybody like the video. If you're watching the video, like the video, whether it's Rockfin or YouTube or Colin or whatever, give me a thumbs up. Feel free to share my videos with people if you are of the mind. But we kind of we live in rarefied air, if I may be so elitist. No, I mean we just a particular intellect is going to find this channel exciting, and a lot of other people are going to be like, yeah, that's not for me. I think you all know that already. It's cool. I'm fine with it. But we're pointing out the ways in which humans are doing the stupid. And and we're collectively going to win a Darwin Award. We're collectively going to win a Darwin Award. Because we're going to just keep doing the stupid until we don't. But this is funny or sad or interesting, whatever way you want to say. Save whales or eat lobster. The battle reaches the White House. I don't know. Let's see. Do we care about biodiversity on the planet? Do we save endangered species? Do we stop over vacuuming up the resources of all the planet for our own delight and pleasure? Or do we stop doing that and allow the planet to recover? What? I don't know. What's the answer to that? Oh, geez, this is a tough one. What are we gonna do, guys? Because anyways, fishing gear used by Maine lobstermen is killing right whales. Will boosting a $1 billion industry trump protecting an endangered species? Inquiring minds want to know. Stay tuned for the next episode of As the World Burns. Thought of that one myself. President Macron of France may not have realized it, but he walked into another fishing war earlier this month when he and 200 other guests were treated at the White House to butter-poached Maine lobster. That is smooth going down. Accented with American Osetra caviar and garnished with a celery crisp. At issue was the lobster, currently subject to a court ruling designed to prevent Maine's lobstermen from trapping the crustacea in baited pots, marked by lines that can fatally entangle feeding North Atlantic right whales. There are now just 340 such whales, with only about 100 breeding females, making the species one of the most endangered on the planet. The Maine Lobster Marketing Collaborative celebrated the choice, saying it was proud that the guests were enjoying the delicious taste of Maine lobster. Meat. It's what's for dinner. The Maine Lobster Marketing Collaborative. They were like, yeah, this is great. I just, I posted this on Twitter. We'll read a little more, but they could have had a contest. Who gets to eat the last lobster? Indeed, Gene. Indeed. And that's, so many people that are like, no, we are humans and we are free. Freedom, humans, freedom. We get to do whatever we want. We do it all the time. We get to just do all the things, do them all the time, do it and do it and do it. And if you say no, you're a crazy lunatic, Malthusian, commie, eugenicist. Okay, that's just it. Right? There are a lot of people that are like, nah, yeah, there's everything's fine. Lord, there's another reason why people aren't allowed to bait for lobster too, is because the lobster is declining. The actual, you know, it's like, well, do we eat lobster or do we save their whales? Well, but the lobsters aren't going to be there to eat anyways, people. So that problem is going to take care of itself. And that's not like a good thing. That's not like, oh, yay, nature figuring it out. Yay. That's not a good thing. Anyways, the international advocacy group Oceana countered that lobster on their menu cannot be considered sustainable by any definition. The dispute between Maine's $1 billion lobster industry, which employs more than 10,000 lobstermen, jobs. The White House and new protections issued by National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration has deep roots. Well, you know that NOAA is, just a bunch of Nazis anyway, so who cares what they have to say? The right whale population has dropped from 500 a decade ago, while Maine's lobster industry has boomed. The industry disputes that its vertical lines attached to buoys are to blame. Some point to ship collisions, others to gill nets. The right whale was one of the first whale species to gain protections in the 1930s because we just absolutely slaughtered them. We took them all out. We were like, we're gonna fish these whales to the very last one. And now we're just doing it at a much slower pace. Yeah, but didn't I see something about the fact that there's just not that many lobster? Is the industry booming? Did they actually use the words booming? Or something like that? Maybe not. I don't think it's booming. I don't think any fishing industries are like booming. That's another countering fact, right? Like for the people that are like, oh, these climate change people are always just blowing, just trumping up that, there's more polar bears than ever. There's more, not really. No. Wild animals are, the populations of wild animals are going down everywhere. And, famously, populations of fish are declining all over the planet because we're fishing them out of existence, because water warmth is changing their habitats, all kinds of reasons. So that's a non-starter. That's a if somebody throws that, it's never been better, populations of wild animals. No, that's not true. I mean, you could choose one population of polar bears in like Siberia and go like, there you go, see, everything's fine. That doesn't indicate that the rest of the planet is okay. Again, cherry picking your facts won't actually help anything. Anyways. Anyways, why is this conversation even happening? I'm not sure. We need to, it's happening because we need to eat lobster. And that's that. We like lobster, and that's that. Hold on. Are we going to get an actual search? Here's many articles saying that there's a decline in lobster population. Providence Journal study: lobster population low off southern New England. American lobster population is in decent shape off of Maine and Canada, but continues to decline in southern New England, according to an assessment. I wonder why. I wonder what's going on. They said decent shape in Maine and Canada. Stock assessment released by Atlantic States Marine Fisheries Commission's American Lobster Board lines up with previous analysis of the lobster fishery. Lobster fishermen pulled in record catches of crustaceans off Maine in the last decade, but the catch collapsed off more southern states. Collapsed. That's a pretty distinct word, collapsed. Environmental changes have made the more southern waters less hospitable for lobsters. Warming temperatures off southern New England. Yes, I was correct. I did read a story just like this. The Lobsters Board assessment says the crustaceans are showing a record high abundance in Gulf of Maine, Georges Bank, which are a pair of key fishing areas further to the north and east. Meanwhile, the southern New England lobster stock is showing record low abundance. Record low abundance. That's in southern New England. Maine, I guess they're doing okay in Maine. So why is this happening? Because the waters are what? The waters are what? The waters are warmer waters. I wonder if that means that we're going into an ice age. It must mean that we're going into an ice age if the waters are getting warmer. That's what I heard. That's scientifically sound. But they're not serious. Nobody's serious about nobody's serious about ending the decimation of the planet. Like nobody's really serious about it. Gene says, I see there are approximately 3.5 million deer in the U.S. Imagine a food shortage and people need to eat those deer. How long will it be until they are wiped out too? Well, I mean, about 3 weeks. 350 million people and 3 million deer. Those deers are going down. And think about that. Actually, that's a good number. That's a good number, Gene. Because think about that: 350 million people and 3 million deer, right? Wild animals out there that could be food, right? What's the number of livestock in the U.S.? I think that would be a good number too. Find out number of livestock in the U.S. Let's see. Total number of. All right. Oh, God. Well, that's old. 2012. These are old. Profile of farms with livestock in the United States. Page not found. If anybody can find me numbers quicker than I can. Number of beef and milk cows in the U.S. Let's try that one. Okay. Jeez. Is this so hard? In 2018, wait. That doesn't look like that many cows. 30,000 beef cows and 9,000 milk cows. This seems like a lot. But we're probably getting beef and cows from other places, right? It's not just the U.S. That seems awful low. Oh, I don't know. I'm using Brave. Brave searches kind of suck. Okay. Somebody already has the number for me, I'm sure. Anybody? Anybody? Denver says that's a drastic underestimate. 3.5 million is an underestimate. Let's see. There we go. Is that so? Are those? Where'd you get those numbers, Osama? The United States is home to approximately 93 million cattle and calves as of 2021. Right? I mean, doesn't that sound a little, more? When I was looking at those numbers about 30,000, I was like, that can't be real. I just am curious where you got those numbers, Bella Lagreasy. How long, if and I also want to know, right, like how quickly would we decimate? Poppy Davis says the total population estimate for deer living in the U.S. is approximately 35 to 36 million. That's quite different from 3 million, right? We're getting to the bottom of this. We are. Oh, okay. Cool. Thanks for the link. Okay, I was looking at this. Well, this site that, thanks. God dang it. They won't let me look at this. All right, all right. That was the same site I was looking at that was telling me like 30,000. The United States is home to approximately 93.8 million cattle and calves. That sounds right. 30,000 ain't it? So yeah, how long would it take for us to run through Scooby-Doo? United States cattle inventory down 2% from the USDA. Right, so 350 million people. How all of this to say, how long would it take for people to, if things spiraled out of control and stores closed down, how quickly would people just fan out and kill everything in sight? Pretty quickly, I'm telling you right now, like, a week or two too long, where everything goes down the grid in the stores and everything. Not only that, we are chopping down every single tree. Right? Every single tree we are chopping down in the vicinity of every city or every town for heat if it's cold. Right? If people were, and whatever else it is they need to. Yeah, Scott Andrews, too many humans, not enough other life forms. Those numbers actually are very good. That's why I went down this path, is because those numbers point out 350 million people. We'll say 30. We'll give it, the benefit of the doubt. 35 million deer. 35 million deer. Divided up by 350 million people. How long do you think that would last? Or the cattle, right? 98 million cattle. How long do you think it would take for people to go, well, there's a cattle ranch down the road. I think we're going to have to go over there and visit the cattle. Because, but how long would that last? How long would that food source last? If all the people of a particular city just jumped on all the cattle in a local area and took them out, like, that would last, again, a few days, maybe a couple of weeks. And then what? But the cattle would be gone. The deer would be gone. The trees would be gone. Because imagine 350 million people who are cold just going out and just taking out all the trees. A lot of trees would go down too. All right. Well, I don't know if anybody is any smarter for that little trek. But there was a time when we took out all of the larger mammals on the planet. And now we're in a space where we can protect those larger mammals because we have other food sources. But if those other food sources go away, those larger mammals are dust. The elephants and the giraffes and the rhinoceroses and the hippopotamuses and the whales and the tigers, they're gone. Everybody must go, right? If we lost our other food sources. All those animals that they're like so cute, and we got to save the, fill in the blank. They're gone. Denver says, assume 1/5 pounds of meat a day per human. Right. Yeah, it's just do the math. Poppy Davis says, a doe is walking in my woods right now. Coincidence? Yes. The doe is like, just checking in on you. Just listening in on the humans. What they're doing, what they're all about. I hope those deers have some really good hidey holes. All right, let's look at another. Let's look at more disappearing fauna. There's an article about the collapse of insects. Hope I can read it. Excuse me. Yeah. From Reuters, the most diverse group of organisms on the planet are in trouble, with recent research suggesting insect populations are declining at an unprecedented rate. And everybody has witnessed it. Like, everybody can attest to the fact that they're missing bees and things. As a boy in the 1960s, David Wagner would run around his family's Missouri farm with a glass jar clutched in his hand, scooping flickering fireflies. Oh yeah, I've talked about this one. We could fill it up and put it by our bedside at night, says Wagner, now an entomologist. That's all gone. Missouri fireflies. Do you have fireflies in Missouri, Poppy? Do you see fireflies in the summer? Curious. I have never seen a firefly in Missouri, but I have on the East Coast. So that's news to me. If they were in Missouri and now are not there, that's all gone. The family farm now paved over with new homes and manicured lawns. Wagner's beloved fireflies, like so many insects worldwide, have largely vanished in what scientists are calling the global insect apocalypse. As human activities rapidly transform the planet, the global insect, they're trying to make it, humans are bad. They're trying to tell you humans are bad. I don't know. Are they? Can you look at the sum total of the things, whatever. Amid deforestation, pesticide use, artificial light pollution, and climate change, these critters are struggling, along with crops, flowers, and other animals that rely on them to survive. Insects are the food that make all the birds and make all the fish, said Wagner, who works at the University of Connecticut. They're the fabric, tethering together every freshwater and terrestrial ecosystem across the planet. It's easy to think insects are doing okay. After all, they're nearly everywhere, crawling through rainforest canopy, burrowing into soil, skimming freshwater ponds, and of course, flitting through the air. On the biological tree of life, which classifies organisms to describe their evolutionary and genetic relationship to one another. Insects fall under the branch or phylum called arthropods, one of the 40 branches of the animal kingdom. In terms of diversity, insects are unrivaled, representing 2/3 of the world's more than 1.5 million documented animal species, with millions more bugs likely still undiscovered, scientists say. By comparison, there are roughly 73,000 vertebrates, or animals with a backbone, from humans to birds and fish. These represent less than 5% of the known animal kingdom, according to the International Union for Conservation and Nature. They're a bunch of Nazis. Let me say. Vertebrates, not so many. Not so many anymore. Poppy Davis.
Unknown caller.
Can you please stop calling me while I'm doing my show? Poppy Davis, I was looking for your answer. You said I'll see maybe 5 fireflies at night. As a kid, I would catch them too. Many, many of them. Photos of the bugs in the article are interesting. Beautiful, yeah. Had lots of bugs on the windshields too. Now none. It's creepy, right? None bugs on the windshields. None bugs on the front of cars. Where in the past there were many. That should alarm you. That should alert you to something is very wrong. Yeah, I mean, I've told the story a million times when I'd never seen a firefly until I went to the East Coast. And, first couple times I was like, what? Wow. Like, what is that? That's amazing. That's magical. That's wonderful. What, I was just amazed by the fireflies. And I would see the first few years I went to the East Coast, I would go there every year. I would see many on a night. I'd see them kind of all over as the dusk came on and things started getting darker. You'd see the fireflies just like start coming out. I'd be like, wow. And the last few years that I went to the East Coast, I saw maybe 1 or 2 here and there, where before I had seen many. And this was over consecutive years, not just 1 year there were no fireflies. It was like the last few years I'd gone to the East Coast, I didn't see any fireflies anymore, or barely any. And I was like, oh, I see. Something has changed now. Humans, take note. Humans, don't be so full of hubris. Humans, it ain't all about you. The universe is big. You are small. I know you like to think that you're big with your big brain, but you are small. The universe is large, and the likelihood that the universe will squash you like a bug is pretty high. I know that sounds really harsh, but we're pretty cool. Humans are pretty cool, but you're not that cool. Like, you could take it down like 86 notches. Their importance to the environment can't be understated, scientists say. Insects are crucial to the food web, feeding birds, reptiles, and mammals, such as bats. For some animals, bugs are simply a treat. Plant-eating orangutans delight in slurping up termites from a teeming hill. Humans, too, see some 2,000 species of insects as food. But insects are so much more than food. Farmers depend on these critters pollinating crops and churning soil to keep it healthy, among other activities. Insects pollinate more than 75% of global crops. A service, oh my God, a service valued at up to $577 billion per year. Oh, that's lovely. Because it's always good to put a price on ecosystem services. In the United States, insects perform services valued in 2006 at estimated $57 billion per year, according to a study in the journal Bioscience. Dung beetles alone, listen to this, dung beetles are pretty valuable, alone are worth some $380 million per year to the U.S. cattle industry for their work breaking down manure and churning rangeland soil, the study found. Well, let's get them dung beetles and let's get them working, okay? Because They're bringing in a lot of dough. With fewer insects, we'd have less food, said ecologist Dave Golson at the University of Sussex. We'd see yields dropping of all of these crops. And in nature, about 80% of wild plants rely on insects for pollination. If insects continue to decline, Golson said, expect some pretty dire consequences for ecosystems generally and for people. We need them. A lot of beetles. It's interesting graphs. Beetles, weevils, longhorn beetles, leaf beetles, scarab beetles. Okay, let's keep going. Row beetles, weevils. There's a lot of beetles. There are about the same number of ladybug species as mammal species. Did y'all know that? More weevil species than fish species. Huh. Describing a stroll through Costa Rica's area de conservation Guanacaste rainforest. I messed that up completely. Evolutionary ecologist Daniel Jansen in 2019 wrote, "Gone are those spider webs that decades back entangled those leaves. Gone is the nighttime sparkle in the leaves reflected from thousands of leucocid spider eyes. The world has lost 5 to 10% of all insect species in the last 150 years, or between 250,000 and 500,000 species, according to a February 2020 study in the journal Biological Conservation." Those losses are continuing, though estimates vary due to patchy data as well as uncertainty over how many insects exist. In the tropics, insects can be extremely hard to identify because there are vastly more species than we are used to. Jansen, a University of Pennsylvania professor, told Reuters, "There are more species within 100 kilometers of my dwelling in a national park in northwestern Costa Rica than in all of Europe." Anyways, they just, the demise of insects can't be attributed to any single cause. Populations are facing simultaneous threats from habitat loss and industrial farming to climate change. Nitrogen overload from sewage and fertilizers has turned wetlands into dead zones. Artificial light is flooding out nighttime skies. And the growth of urban areas has led to concrete sprawl. Until recently, loss of land was the single greatest driver of the decline, Wagner said, but climate change is becoming a far more severe and ominous threat by drying out parts of the planet that were chronically wet. And that is absolutely catastrophic for a lot of insects. The introduction of non-native plants, which can dominate new environments, has also hurt insects because many insects have evolved to feed on or fertilize a single plant species. The disruption of the plant world can have an outsized effect. For example, the Tegeticula moth species pollinates California's famed Joshua trees, with the succulent providing the only food source for the moth's offspring. If Joshua trees were to disappear, so too could the moth, and vice versa. With the situation looking bleak, a few species are thriving. It's generally the pest insects that are thriving, right? Because they're the ones that breed faster and are favored by human conditions, like all the waste we produce, right? Like flies, ants, I guess you could consider pests. Spiders could be considered pests. Like all the waste we produce for them to lay their eggs on. Climate change is also giving some nuisance species a boost. Rising temperatures are driving major outbreaks of mountain pine bark beetles, which in 2 decades have decimated roughly 100,000 square miles of North American forest. That's actually happening. That's true and correct. And you can see it with your own eyes if you actually want to look. And with warmer, wetter weather, 2 disease-spreading mosquitoes, Aedes aegypti and Aedes albopictus are expected to expand in Asia, North America, and Europe, putting at least 2.3 billion people at risk from dengue fever by 2080. A June 2019 Nature Microbiology study estimated. Beyond pests, there are some more examples of other insect groups that are in trouble. Bees, butterflies, and moths, beetles, freshwater insects. Right. We've heard about all this, if you follow this channel, we've read many articles about the decline of insects. You know what I've been seeing a lot of lately? It's just surprising. I didn't see one, Jerusalem bug or potato bug, as they're sometimes called. I haven't seen one of those things since I was a kid. And all of a sudden, I've seen like 5 in the last couple of weeks. I've seen just a ton of Jerusalem bugs, and I'm like, where are they coming from? That's interesting that I'm seeing those now. I hadn't seen them for a long time. And is it a good thing that I'm seeing them, or is it a bad thing? I mean, I guess it's good if I'm seeing more of them, it's good for them. But I wonder why. Not seeing that many bees still. Butterflies are down, bees are down. I'm just talking about in my general vicinity. I've been seeing less. I used to have a lot of hummingbirds around, and I've seen less hummingbirds and a lot less birds just period in my yard. I used to have a lot of birds, and now I have fewer birds. Oh, mosquitoes. Yes, mosquitoes are booming. I don't see a lot of mosquitoes around where I live. All that many. People say they get bit by them, but I'm like, what? Bit by what? I don't see any mosquitoes. So it must not be the mosquitoes. Last thing I wanted to check out. This is an interesting. Also from Poppy about an Indonesian island nation is going to sell out its, or an Indonesian island archipelago is up for auction. An Indonesian development firm that has licensed the rights to build an eco resort. Yay, let's go on an eco trip. Eco resort and luxury residential properties on the reserve. New World Order. Okay, let's look at this for a second. Uninhabited Weedy Reserve is in a marine protected zone and being promoted as one of the most intact coral atoll ecosystems left on Earth. And you know what we need? Some tourism, jobs. We need jobs. The development rights to the entire Indonesian archipelago with more than 100 tropical islands is set to be auctioned next week, sparking concerns for the environmental impact on what Sotheby's described as one of the most intact coral atoll ecosystems left on Earth. The uninhabited Weedy Reserve is based in a marine protected zone in the Coral Triangle area of eastern Indonesia and will go on sale via Sotheby's concierge auctions. Well, doesn't that sound very, very highbrow? The sale of islands to non-Indonesians is banned under Indonesian law, so buyers will bid for shares in PT Leadership Islands Indonesia, an Indonesian development firm that has licensed the rights to build an eco resort and luxury residential properties on the reserve. Awesome. As in, not totally awesome at all. The auction has prompted concerns among some conservationists who say the development could cut off local communities and threaten its ecosystems, which feature rainforests, mangroves, lagoons, lakes, and coral reefs that are home to vast marine wildlife. Mohammed Abdi Suhufan, national coordinator of Destructive Fishing Watch Indonesia, has asked Indonesia's government to investigate the sale, which he said has caused controversy and captured the attention of the Indonesian public. He said that although the development has planned for environmental protection, private ownership of the islands would impact the local community socially and economically. Fishing spots for fishermen that have been used for generations will be limited, he said. The social impact of this plan will offset the environmental benefits. Currently, the government is aggressively attracting foreign investment to obtain state revenue. No rules should be changed to pass this plan. Okay. How can we be guaranteed that these islands will not be exploited for tourism activities? Well, yeah. If you're going to build an ecotourism spot, you're going to exploit the... anyways. How about access for the local communities after the islands become privately owned? Well, you know, all the billionaires will just buy up the rest of the planet, what's left of the planet, and kick everybody off of the parts they bought up, or make them. It'll be the feudal system, right? The future feudal times, where billionaires will own literally like every square inch of the planet, and you will have to pay, toil and pay your tithes to the billionaire that owns your particular part of the world. And yeah, that'll be fun, right? Denver says I'm seeing a lot more wasps and hornets than bees. That's interesting. Yeah, I'm seeing a lot. We have a ton of flies and ants. Flies and ants are everywhere in my yard, and they have kind of overtaken most of the other bugs. Good news though, so I've seen more Jerusalem crickets. That must mean something is happening, and I'm also seeing. Well, I'm composting in the back of my yard, and I'm getting a good, there's a lot of worms, which is good. The worms are back in my backyard, so that means something healthy is going on there. All right, guys, you know what? That about does it for me. I just wanted to bring these couple of articles to you today. And I forgot to actually check out coffees or anything like that. But I'm going to check my coffees. buymeacoffee.com/blackbearnews is a good way to support the show. Of course, Rockfin tips are greatly appreciated. You can also, if you so choose, to super chat me on YouTube. That is also another way to support the show. And if you want other ways to support the channel, well, also Patreon is available. Other ways to support the channel, you can just email blackbearnews@gmail.com, and I will really, really try to answer your email. There are other ways. If you want to send me mail or use other platforms, there are other platforms you can donate to me on. If they work better for you, just let me know. All right. Yes, very interesting, and although depressing, it was a very depressing. We get our depression on here, and then we go out and then we enjoy ourselves. Okay, all right, guys. I will, most likely be back tomorrow at noon Pacific Standard. Again, this week is going to be wonky, so if I don't show up, don't freak out. I'll be back the next day. I'll do my best, but it is what it is. Thanks so much, guys. Until next time, peace.